Hey, so our meeting order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone. If you are wanting to do any input during public comment, please sign in the chat room. Stephanie, do we have anyone signed in on our list? No. All right. I'll check in with Jared once we get to public input.
Okay.
Agenda changes.
One. We have a recommendation from Mr. Miller for a new K-12. So one action.
And does that go in with the consent agenda?
Rather than put it in the consent agenda, we'll just go down and put it into new business.
All right, consent agenda. I'm open to a motion for approval.
Plain song in there that was, you know, to make them rhyme. So, I think they were putting like that too, but having done this before in my lustrous past, you know, you put together something. We did it for the new map that came out. Nobody knew what was going on. Students, and they were just, we could do something better, but just to get something out there. I don't know how anybody else felt. I know you all looked at it. No, I couldn't even. They don't have to call there. I think they maybe in a list or something. Just the words. That's what I was looking.
I think for me, I thought there's some really good things in the curriculum. And I think that when it came to the songs, I also didn't listen to all of the songs, but it's one of those things where I think teachers have that ability to go and find a song that has those same themes. If they don't like that particular song, I don't know necessarily how that would tie in with whatever the school has for their fidelity of curriculum. Because some people, as a building administrator, have a very strong opinion about what fidelity to curriculum is, and others have a very loose idea, and then there's people in the middle and stuff. So that was my emphasis. I thought that teachers could possibly put that songs, but
So that was, and then not to have a written guide for. Or was it?
Yeah.
yeah, it's 7 through 12.
Yeah, and we were told that they build on the other in lower grades. Well, that's really loose. That's my opinion.
Well, I was a little concerned with the 3rd through 6th grade because it didn't really specify as to how it was going to be broken up, or is it going to be repeated each year with the ages. And I have some concerns about teaching about suicide in third grade. And that's one of the topics that's included in that book. I think the curriculum, if it's taught right, I think that it could be a good thing for our students because it kind of addresses some of the issues that we're having with behavior with our students. So there were things I liked about it, but I just was curious too. I want to make sure that we're not going to lose instructional time. You know, something that's important. I mean, this is important, but I know I don't want to press the teachers to where they're not having a half an hour at a time to be able to teach the lesson. And I wasn't really sure how that would play out. I think that there's a lot of good lessons and we have been talking about some of the behavior issues. So, I really appreciated that part of it, but I was a little curious about, the first two grades, everything's laid out, exactly what they're going to be doing. And then it kind of, doesn't really tell us who's going to do what. And if it's good, and then if it's going to be taught every year, the same curriculum or whatever for the third through sixth grade. So.
Presented had indicated that once you get out of the primary grades, that the rest of it was a set of modules that you would shift around and plug in as you needed them and as you saw fit based on what you were dealing with in the school. So I think that's part of their attempt and flexibility while still having a curriculum that teachers can go to. So yeah, it's not going to be prescribed out into detail beyond primary grades for that reason. I read the peer-reviewed articles from them, and that was encouraging. I had questions last time. Well, okay, we thought this doesn't work. The two articles that were sent, one of them was specific to this curriculum, and the data did look pretty good. I mean, so there's reason to be optimistic that you're not just grabbing something that publishers are offering us a good deal.
Well, I would hate to see us teach it for a kindergarten through second grade and then it just drop off, because if we're not saying,
Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying. If you're saying a teacher can, use pieces what they want, if a teacher doesn't want to use it all year,
That's a
then
different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's progressive, it's just not prescribed. As in, you're gonna spend 30 minutes a day for the entire year, you're gonna plug it in when needed, and it could be 30 minutes a month, it could be 30 minutes a week. It's not, it can't take over core, of course, but you could use it during health curriculum times, some of those other times that to plug in. But like I said, it wouldn't be prescribed.
so it would be the administrator that would set the intention.
The parameters, yes, but
Okay.
working with the counseling program.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
I second it.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second to accept the consent agenda. Is there any other discussion?
What did you decide on the stage?
Where's the stage? Is the stage part of the consent agenda?
Yes.
So.
So
There were three.
I haven't heard anything about us getting a new stage and now it's in the consent agenda. I was hoping that was not. How are we paying for this? Are we using ESSER funds for it?
Yes, we are.
So which one did you recommend?
It's the stage people, Amanda.
Cindy said she wanted to go with the same ones that we used for the one at Driftwood, which is Mega, because they were giving us a discount.
Oh,
And
okay.
she said they were really good. Mega, they were labeled Mega. Oh, the stage, I'm sorry. They were talking about the sign. One second.
I don't see one by that name was,
Sorry, I was talking about a sign. Never mind. Hang on.
Okay.
One second. Get it.
Yeah, that was a good sign.
It's-
Which stage and then there was.
Stage drop.
Stage
Yeah, and
Yep.
Everything I need, and then sleep in the morning. And then stage people. It's kind of similar, but left row is somebody.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Right, that it was incorporated. And the reason I was assuming that was because when you look at approval PHS stage purchase, when you go over to the far right, it says the number 20. And the number 20 is on the page that says it stays like this, says 20. The case of trees, that's the show you take that out of the consent agenda and exclude it until we can confirm what it is.
Miranda, you
No, I emailed Krista about it and she, yeah, I emailed her on Friday and I hadn't heard back from her.
I don't think we can approve it if we don't.
Yep, we can.
please.
Okay, so I need an amended motion.
You made the original.
We set an agenda, exception of the PHS state.
Okay, let's have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda minus the approval of the PHS stake purchase. So we can confirm what that purchase is. Is there any more discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All of those who approve, please raise your hand that we're accepting the consent agenda minus the approval of the PHS stage purchase until we have confirmation of what that purchase is. All of those who approve, unanimous. All right, public input. Jared, do you have any public input?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Moving on then, educational spotlight. Oh,
All right, I'm Rob Jones. I'm gonna share my screen here. I've got a little slideshow to go and I'm sorry. There we go. All right, everybody should be able to see that. It's clear to everybody out there that's following. I'm Rob Jones. I'm the CTE teacher at the school. I'm just kind of going to go through each of the classes that I teach and talk a little bit about what the kids have been doing and some of the things that are coming up in the future for our classes, or my classes, I should say. All right, so my first class of the day is Intro to Tech / Wood Shop. I've got two groups of kids in here. I've been taking the Intro to Tech kids. We've been doing a little bit in the welding shop and a little bit in the wood shop. So you'll see some of them working. They've been making pens in the wood shop. I've got a couple of students making little wooden boxes, and then some of them are working on a project of making little figures out of metal nuts and bolts and washers. You can see Skylar there. He's pretty proud of what he's been working on. He's kind of finding his little niche in welding. I've got Cassius there in the center. He's one of my Intro to Tech students, and he welds better than any of my welding students. He's holding up a piece of metal that got bent into a U shape after it was cut cross-sectionally and then bent. This is the actual test that journeyman, well, actually beginning welders do at the community college to pass each different welding test. So it's a high-level test and there were no flaws in it. It's the first time I've ever seen one come out that clean. Each of them is kind of taking on their own level of, how well they want to do and what they're going to do well at. Some kids, they flourish in their math class, and some kids, they come into the shop classes and flourish. My middle school students, we just completed little Pinewood Derby cars. The kids not only built the cars, they built the track. So we did CO2 cars with them last year. I get repeats, the 6th grade or the 7th graders, when they're 8th graders, some of them will come into the class again. They said, we want to do something different. We don't want to do CO2 cars this year. So I plan to switch with them each year. So next year we'll do CO2 cars with the middle school kids again. I also give them an opportunity to do the other things that I do. I teach horticulture, so I take them out, let them see the pigs, the goats, the chickens. We typically will do that on a Friday when I don't have any horticulture students those days, and so they get a little bit of that. Currently, I have them in the CAD lab, and we just finished up making a Lego block. It's a small little Lego block that has their name on it, and it fits with the actual size Legos, so they'll be able to take it home and put it into their little Lego set. But the real value in what they're doing is that they're learning the CAD programs that we're using with the high school kids, just to give them a little flavor, a little bit of, hey, this is what is coming up, and kind of give them a pathway into the other CTE programs. I've got another intro to tech class and a welding class. They've been working on different things from cutting boards. Josiah there in the middle, he made a table and he welded the frame underneath it, put it together. So I have him for 3 classes a day, and he loves putting things together, and I love it too. It's great. We did assemble bike racks for the elementary school. They've got those Strider bikes, and from what I understand, they've been a pretty big hit down there. So we just made these mobile carts so they can move them around, put them into the storage, and take them in and out of the gym easily. Continued on, kids fabricating a bent fender for a trailer and making different types of things in the welding shop. My older kids having a good time. My CAD class, some of the kids are coming up and able to take an object that I give them and reproduce a drawing of that object with great accuracy. So I'm proud of them and the things that they've been doing. They also built CO2 cars. Right now they're working on another engineering design, a mousetrap car. It's a car that's powered by just the power of the spring on a mousetrap. So they take that linear motion and turn it into a rotary motion. All right, so I'm going to show you a real quick video clip. You can see in the lower corner there, there's a little 3D printed CO2 car. This car is connected to a monofilament line, a fishing line that goes across. It absolutely goes all, looks like it's going all over the gym, but it's contained. I just want you to see how fast this thing went. He printed it with the least amount of plastic possible to fit the design parameters. It's kind of hard to see because it's like full speed. So here's one that I did on a slow-mo of 2 of the kids from the other side. So you can actually see them going. This is like slow motion from my phone. It is, but they went just as fast as that other car. But it's amazing when they come into full view that you can see that if their wheels were out of alignment, how far out they go, and they're each on their own line. So you see his wheels on the back they're a little bit crooked. His car broke. He had to weld it back or glue it back together with hot glue. It was quite exciting. But the kids are having a great time. And next slide, if I can here, it's like stuck on play. The horticulture class, they've been busy. They re-roofed the greenhouse this year. They've painted some of the outbuildings that are getting a little bit beat up. We raised pigs, did well with the pig raffle. We raised enough money to feed one of the pigs to the kids at lunch, so that was fun. So we raffled off 2.5 of the pigs, and the other half we had sold. So that helped pay for all the processing, all the meat and everything. At the end of the day, we made a little bit of money to cover getting a startup for next year with it. So I think it's a successful program. The kids seem to be having a good time out there. We have 2 goats that are pretty much out there just to be lawnmowers. They've been keeping the weeds down. The kids like not having to go out there and weed whack and chop down weeds. But we've got chickens. They're laying eggs. Dawson's got one of the big old roosters. That one's no longer with us, but he was a good rooster while he lasted. CTE grants. So this year we got some Perkins funding, Pathways funding, and then High School Success Grant, which we just ordered some materials. So you can see off to the left, that's the MR1. Langmuir Systems makes a CNC router, CNC mill, which we have. It's in the shop. It's being assembled right now. I'm almost to the stage where I pour a concrete bed on the top of it. So that'll keep the machine on the ground. It's about 850 pounds of concrete. So we've put the drains in it. We're getting ready to put it together and finish building it. We ordered a Crossfire Pro plasma CNC machine. It's designed to cut out sheet metal. And so we'll be able to put a 4-foot by 3-foot sheet of sheet metal down and cut out designs that the kids make in the computer lab. So when they design something in AutoCAD, we can take that and just cut out that piece of sheet metal. So we'll be able to come up with some really neat looking designs and some nice things. It has a water table on it. And the thing that's nice about the water table is it keeps the whole cutting operation cool. So there's not a lot of warpage with that sheet metal as it cuts. So it should be very accurate. And then for aluminum welding, we just received a MIG welder. It's a handheld aluminum MIG welding gun with a 30-foot lead. So we should be able to get wherever we need to weld up some pieces of aluminum together with better accuracy than what we've had previously. All right, that's all I have. If there are any questions, I'm welcome to field those questions.
Where did you say you were putting the concrete again?
So in the bed of the CNC machine, the big top of it. So the base of it is concrete, and then it gets a layer of epoxy on top, so that the rails that the CNC machine move on have a firm foundation. So it's just a sheet metal tub that is the base of it right now. They send the X and the Y axes that sit on top of there. Right now, they're just loose. So you can move them around and position them where they need to be. And then once the concrete gets put into there, it's like 6 bags of concrete, about 450 pounds of concrete. So it'll be solid. We put the legs on it. We put the leg levelers on it. Have to make sure it's all set just right. We're currently assembling the drains. It has 4 drains, 1 drain in each corner. So, and I can show you a real quick video on what this machine does in operation. Hang on, just a second here. All right, so this is the CNC machine here. And this gentleman is designing a valve cover for his Triumph. It's the same software, same machine that we have. He's going to put in a big block of aluminum and then cut this shape out with it. So yeah, underneath that gantry and the base of that tub is all concrete. I doubt we're gonna be making valve covers, but we might make some like little aluminum chess pieces or, you know, something that the kids can design that's a little bit smaller, but it's a powerful machine. It can do a lot. And we bought the cover to go around it, the enclosure, just to keep fingers out and keep all the water and everything inside of the machine where it needs to be. It has a tool leveling system. So as you change out tools in the machine, it will go to a touchpad and automatically know right where 0 is for that tool. So we have a touchpad and a probe, and the probe will go into the tool cutting chuck, and then it'll go find all the corners and all the pieces of the part to reference itself. Because as you see, he turned that part over to machine the bottom side of it. So it needs to know where things are.
Oh, he even put the.
Yeah. So I'm excited. This machine's going to be great. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it running and get the kids trained on it this year, but next year it's going to be fantastic.
Is it just cutting aluminum or does it cut other metal?
It will cut aluminum, it will cut steel, it will cut wood, it will cut plastic, whatever we want to put into it. So we ordered and purchased all of the tooling for ferrous metal, non-ferrous metal, and we already have a lot of the wood cutting bits. We used to have a wood cutting CNC machine that was very, very big. It was all an analog system, and the computer and all the relays in it weren't functioning properly. So the school surplus that machine. I can use this smaller machine and teach the kids all of the same principles without having a big open machine that doesn't have any kind of safety or enclosure around it. So I think this is a lot better system, and the kids can learn those kind of things in the elementary school on the 3D printers, printing plastic, and then with the high schoolers, we can go a little bit more advanced. And instead of just doing the additive manufacturing, we can do the reductive manufacturing from a piece of material. These are the kind of things that are being used in industry, and that's what I want to be able to teach our kids, what the cutting edge technologies are and how they work.
I'm just so glad our students have the ability to participate in things like that. We may be a small school, but we're a mighty school.
I think so too.
Great job.
Thanks. No problem. Glad to come.
Just that we, just so you know, still waiting for the contractor to, again, it's gonna be depend on weather, to start on the concrete work and the cafeteria expansion. So we're just kind of waiting on that, see how things go. Chad's working hard on that, so. That's it for me.
Okay. Transportation and maintenance.
Got it all in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw it.
Technology research. In there.
Nothing new. It's just all what was in my report.
That report.
Yeah, it's all in there. Yeah. All, yeah.
We're gonna move on to new business.
Okay, new business. We have one thing. Mr. Miller would like to recommend hiring Kane Brown as the new K through 12 principal in 23-24. You have the information, just FYI, it is Bob's son, so he won't be able to vote on hiring Mr. Brown.
I understand that.
But I think it's a really good recommendation,
That's a beautiful resume.
and I support the recommendation.
Looks like his dad. Do we make that decision?
You have the
have to-
recommendation, so we need a motion and a.
Approve the supply.
Correct.
And it's only you two and I think. do this.
Right.
I make the motion that we approve Shane Brown for our K-12 principal.
That's Bob can't have anything to do with it because it's his son and Aaron's not.
I second
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second to approve the hiring of Shane Brown as the new K-12 principal. Is there any discussion? No discussion, I'll call for the vote. All of those who approve for the hiring of Shane Brown as our new K-12 principal, please raise your hand. Unanimous?
You.
Whole business.
None?
I actually have one question about this.
Okay,
So I don't know how many months ago it was because they passed this so quickly. We had approved the buying of a new sign communication board.
yes,
Driftwood.
Yes.
And where are we at on that? Are we waiting for it to ship with all of those wonderful?
we are, it's in process.
Yeah, so I can answer that
There you
one.
go.
So we are currently, we have everything approved and whatnot. We have a plan set up, I believe is getting set up over the summer.
Yes.
This company is coming out, they're gonna measure our current base and everything, build a custom bracket for the sign, so we don't have to do a new foundation or anything. So they're gonna build it right on there. And then it is my understanding that they're also gonna remove the old sign for us. So basically, it's a weather game at this point. And I believe we're waiting till after July 1 or I can't remember if it's after or before July 1. I don't remember.
It's
which.
budgeted for then, but it's ESSER funds, so.
Yeah.
It had no, but it was weather.
Yeah, it's more weather related than anything, but it's all been approved. It's all ready to go. They're getting their end of it done. And then it's again just weather, and I'm excited to have it because it's got a bunch of new cool features and I think it's gonna be great. So
Well, thank you for that. I just
Yeah,
been curious as I drive through town.
Yeah,
It's
no.
coming.
trust me, I'm awaiting the day as well.
All right.
Tired of the old one.
We have no reoccurring business, and so we're at the first reading of policy.
Right. She said, yes, yes. Well,
It's negative.
this is showing no contact with students without licensed staff present. So that's basically saying the same thing, because you're talking. She talks about volunteering on the playground, et cetera, There's not licensed staff out there. It's classified staff that does the supervision. So she's saying that recommendation, just as it says in here, or directly with a licensed student, licensed staff. The teaching staff, not classified staff. So yes,
Doesn't that kind of torpedo the whole idea of getting parental involvement?
that's why they have to be that's why they would be in a classroom. Not in your unsupervised, not in your other areas. So like for example, smart reading. Under licensed staff supervision. Because that's direct contact with students.
So on the playground, it's classified staff that are there now.
Mhm.
Volunteers could not assist because there's not a licensed individual.
Correct.
That seems like one of the places you would most want to be able to have extra help.
It's also, if you read the whole thing, it's where the most negligent, where the school becomes the most negligent. Because volunteer staff do not know the situation, nor can they, if it's a 504 student, or if it's an IEP student, et cetera, because they can't know that. It's a FERPA violation. So that's why she's saying that.
So we can't have, and what union agreements contract would prevent a licensed. person.
Absolutely, because they have to have 30-minute duty-free lunch. Yes. Yes. Nor has there ever been like, I mean.
Yeah.
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 And, you know,
I'm just, again, I'm trying to think, because this is something that's come up multiple times.
and if you were to ever to do that, and she suggests that, if you were to ever to do that, then those volunteers would have to go through all of the protocols that staff does, all of the safe schools training, all of, you know, 16 to 20 hours of training.
Right.
To volunteer to do that. That would be the only way that you would, to make yourself not liable.
So do our substitutes go through all that training?
All of our classified staff goes through all that training, because they do through our state.
The substitutes.
We have smart people go through.
But substitutes are a different story, because you're not talking about, they're not being, there's not, it's a substitute staff member.
That's why I'm asking.
So they don't have
because-
the liability as a volunteer, that the volunteer would.
But,
It's confusing. I think the smart people were just given paperwork, basically. We filled out and said we were good people.
Yes, and yeah,
and you're not directly supervised by a licensed person?
No, volunteer also. We had some program. Two of them. But
So if it says they have to be supervised by a licensed staff member, and there isn't a staff member in when you're doing smart reading.
yes, sight and sound. Sight and sound is the rule.
Okay, so I guess another question, would it be possible to negotiate a situation where there would be a licensed person available during that one-time outdoor recess period that would be compensated by having their 30-minute break at a different time?
And you're talking about a scheduling thing, Bob, and that would be something I couldn't answer that one. And now you're gonna have to figure out some kind of prep time that you're getting into. If you're gonna get into negotiation, I mean, again,
I'm just trying to. figure out-
I'm, if you're gonna go to a negotiation, that's you're gonna get into a different, you're gonna get contract language, et cetera.
I get that.
So I'm not saying it's
The
impossible.
contract assures them a 30-minute duty-free lunch. It doesn't necessarily have to be between 12 and 12:30.
No,
Could they have their lunch period?
that's exactly right.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is that something?
That they're eating when their students are out on recess. Otherwise, they're instructing children.
Yeah.
So, if you could figure out a schedule to do that, I mean, again, that would be building a building principal situation, not saying it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's possible. Maybe.
Well, I'm just,
No, that's, I mean, that's.
the survey material that we just looked at last board meeting
Yeah.
in the committee, this was something that keeps popping
Yeah,
up.
and that may resolve, that may resolve the liability situation. So you know, that, because there is licensed supervision of the classified staff members, or of the volunteer. But there again, they can't necessarily make volunteers can't make direct contact with students anyway, as in reminding or reprimanding or whatever, that they can't legally do that. So, I mean, again, you might be able to, if you worked on a schedule, that principal to be may be able to find that 30 minutes. I'm not sure. I couldn't give you that answer.
But there's no amount of training that those volunteers could get. Be practical to the point where they could tell that student.
No.
You're doing that.
No. They don't have the ability to do that. That's why they are not employees of the district. They can't correct. They can refer. The volunteers can only refer to the staff. Staff supervising. Yes, first week.
Changes all we have to do.
That is correct, Phyllis. Yeah. Updated, yeah. Moving on, no, moving on.
Everybody's just still looking at their papers, so.
Well, I just made a note to myself that okay, so once we're in the process of reviewing the policy at the first reading, we'll go through another reading. Say, okay, we're going to accept it as it is, and then at that point, we have to update that date to show that was the last reading.
So are we getting this policy brought to us because there's been questions about people volunteering in those roles and our attorney says we can't do that? So there's been no changes from OSBA in this policy. This is just for us.
That's correct. That is correct.
Okay. Forward then.
So the next one, harassment. So if you didn't read it, the difference now is teen dating violence that was added to harassment bullying. Okay, so all verbiage is the same from the OSBA model, from the sample model, except that they have added teen dating as part of the bullying, harassment, intimidation, domestic violence to the actual policy by the OSBA. So even though we wanted to discuss the bullying policy, we were going to have to anyway because they added teen dating to it. So this is the newest definition and the newest policy for bullying put out by OSBA.
Good to have another source.
Awareness.
Okay, so the only part that's new is just that part.
Yes, correct,
A short piece to read.
correct, yes. That is absolutely right.
Is that this first one?
Yes.
Yep.
These are all the first readings.
Same thing when we adopted, we'd actually change.
Yes, exactly. And the last one is, actually, there's two more. The complaint procedure, it needed specific timelines. So 14 days to do this, 14 days to do that, to get information back to the person that actually had made the and then that investigation. So it just describes the actual process and date and how long you have it to make sure that it's done. So that's really what the complaint procedure is. And then now there's an AR. If you look at the form, it says what type of discrimination is it. So they can, whether it be race, color, religion, sex, yada, 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 they can actually write down to start with, because originally that wasn't there. You had to tell them we have sex, discrimination or harassment. So that puts it down there as the categories of harassment. So that's it for that one. And then lastly is just the expulsion process, and that's it's one of those things that it's getting harder to expel students. You can't in the lower grades. Basically, they're told you cannot. Kids are going to stay in school one way or the other, but it has become it's a process. Again, it has always been a process. It just it makes it a little bit more difficult for schools to go through the process, honestly. Still can be done, but weapons, one for sure, that's out. That's a year period. That's a year period, and then you can't transfer it. So if you get a weapons violation and an expulsion due to a weapons violation, that student cannot attend any other school in the state of Oregon that calendar year, and we have to put that out there. That's our school responsibility. But other than that, like I said, there are processes that it just defines the expulsion process. Luckily, we don't have very many. Few. And then again, the last one, the public complaint procedure, that's just how you have to go through how you start an actual complaint. Must be in writing, must start with a certain person, and then go through the process. Administrator, superintendent, and then board, and they can all be appealed. Any decision can be appealed. And of course, if the board makes it, you can of course go to the next, go above the board into the state if you so choose. Had that process, but it's possible. Just again, defining what the actual procedure is. Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. I think probably for a reason.
Legalize.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, are you ready to move on? Are there any other questions? Okay. Board comments? I have to say, I thought it was wonderful watching our elementary school students riding their bikes. And Rob, thank you for your class making the racks to hold those bikes, because that can be quite a thing to keep them up and out of the weather. And but I just think that is wonderful that we have that program going in our district.
It really does just ease of use. I mean, I saw his rack when we were in there and then was like, wow, that's great. I mean, it's easy to roll around. It's easy for the teachers to take them off and put them on. Be out of the way when they're not using them.
Was that your?
It's great.
Okay, that's
Well, I
right.
think sometimes people overlook, bike riding requires balance and a lot of work on the right side of the brain. And all of that helps to develop the part of the brain that you need to be able to work in a classroom and learn some of that core curriculum. And so I think that sometimes that physical development gets overlooked a lot about how important it is. So I think that was just wonderful. Okay, future agenda items.
Just know that next meeting, we have board meeting followed by budget meeting. And we are in process. And it's getting ready. And we do not have, unfortunately, a definitive dollar amount coming from the state. Because the Ways and Means Committee came in much lower than the governor's proposed budget, so they're in process, and I just don't get it. We can't seem to get a real feeling as to where we are going to end. And between 10.3 and 8.9 or 9.9 and 10.1 would be nice. Because it doesn't include the SIA. But if they go 10.1 and they include 200 million for the SIA, it's just really kicking it down the road. Because that's completely a different funding source. So it really isn't fair to have a 10.1, yet that's the SIA is part of the 10.1. It should be 10.3 with the SIA part of it, because then you're not, then because it's a corporate income tax, it's supporting the one, the other state school fund supporting the other. So hopefully that will happen. But we won't get that, unfortunately, we won't get that revenue forecast until I think it might be the 14th. But we are presenting a budget at 10.0. Being safe with that, hopefully. And then if it's 9.9, we're just going to have to make some adjustments. But the idea right now is that we will at least go 10.0 and go from there. So that will be that's where we're going to start. And we will be ready to go on the 15th.
To come earlier, we will stay later.
Yeah. Don't we usually do budget before board, or do we? We do budget after board, right? Isn't it so that we can make sure we have the budget members here? Isn't that what we've done in the past? We go board and then budget.
Yeah.
4:30 and 5:30. Yeah. That's what we're proposing.
Okay, so I just want to ask then, because Aaron had talked about this district identity.
Okay.
And he had talked about it taking place on May 12th. And that's the board meeting night. And I think he was talking about doing that after the board meeting. And he says.
May 12th.
May 12th is a Friday.
May 12th is a Friday.
Okay, well then I'm just. So.
May 15th is the board/budget meeting.
Okay.
You guys have an additional meeting.
I'll make sure. I'll connect with Aaron and I'll get that straight.
Looking at the budget calendar, it is the board meeting and then the budget meeting.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
Board meeting and then the budget. I'm kind of going out of order because I forgot to let you know as board members that I did approve pay for the first 5 days of those extra days that we had approved for Aaron to work. So that was for the day he'll be paid for the first 5 days because he's completed that work. I can tell you what those days were if you would like to. Wednesday, March 15th, Monday, March 20th, Friday, March 24th, Wednesday, April 12th, and Friday, April 14th. For the 5 days that Aaron is. That's pretty good. All right. And so we're at the end of our meeting, board meeting and budget meeting.
We adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I second it. I have a second. Any discussion? All right, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All of those in favor, raise your hand. Any